Imagine buying your dream car, only for it to be reduced to a pile of ash and molten metal just 2 hours later. And the worst part? You don't have a single cent of insurance coverage. Repairing standard accident damage on German cars can easily blow your budget. So what happens when it's a brand new 2023 BMW M4 competition that was intentionally torched to the ground? How much would it actually cost to resurrect this burnt shell? American YouTuber Joe James picked up a 2023 BMW M4 competition from a Copart auction for $48,000. It had minor front-end damage, and the plan was simple: fix it up and hit the road. But just 2 hours after parking it outside his house, a masked stranger walked up and set the entire car ablaze. The fire consumed everything, while Joe could only watch helplessly without a fire extinguisher in sight. To make matters worse, insurance refused to cover a dime. The car was titled as salvage, his age prevented him from getting commercial dealer insurance, and security footage failed to capture the suspect's face clearly enough for legal action. He was left with two choices: take a massive financial loss or attempt an impossible rebuild from scratch. But what happened next blew everyone away. Refusing to throw in the towel, Joe decided to take on the teardown process himself. The rear section had survived the flames, but the front was a nightmare of melted metal. His first major obstacle was aluminum that had melted directly over heavy-duty steel bolts. Because of aluminum's lower melting point, the fire fused the components into a solid block, forcing him to smash through melted headlights just to access the engine bay. Inside, the electric bucket seats were scorched, locked in place and fused to the wiring harness, blocking access to the floor bolts. Joe had to pull out an angle grinder and slice through the reseat rails just to tear them out. But the real horror was hiding right under the carpet. After ripping out the dash and climate control unit, which had melted into a solid slab of plastic, he discovered the floorboards were completely submerged in water left behind by the fire department. The trapped water turned the ash and soot into a sludge that threatened to rot the chassis from the inside out. He drained the water and stripped the cabin down to bare metal. Since the rolling chassis had no wheels left and couldn't be towed, Joe fabricated a custom dolly out of scaffolding pipes and $50 eBay casters just to move the shell around. That's when he uncovered structural disasters. The carbon fiber roof was utterly destroyed. Because BMW factory construction uses specialized rivets, structural adhesive, and precision bolts instead of traditional welds to join aluminum to steel, Joe spent days drilling out rivets and cutting through metal layers to chop off the ruined front end and peel off the destroyed roof. To avoid dealership prices for new parts, he waited for another 2023 M4 to pop up at auction, a donor car involved in a brutal crash that pushed the dashboard straight into the engine bay. He bought the parts-only donor to harvest what he needed: a fresh carbon roof, clean bucket seats, an intact engine block, and a complete wiring harness. That's when the high-stakes structural surgery began. Joe scrubbed the original shell clean, applying a coat of red oxide primer to seal the metal against rust. Using a specialized heat gun, he softened the factory BMW adhesive on the donor car to free its intact front clip and roof frame. Then he bonded and riveted the new front end onto his chassis using official BMW structural adhesive, which costs a steep $270 per tube. After prepping and painting the interior cab, it was time to address the heart of the beast. Cleaning the engine was a process in itself due to melted intake plastics, but the internal components were surprisingly untouched. He assembled the engine, transmission, and front subframe out of the car, dropping the entire drivetrain into the bay in one seamless hoist operation. He routed the fresh wiring harness from the trunk to the engine bay, reconnected the fuel lines, and reinstalled the dashboard, HUD, braking, and suspension systems. After 6 brutal months of labor, sourcing parts, and reprogramming the vehicle's ECU and transmission modules, the moment of truth arrived. He hit the push-start button, and the engine fired up instantly, idling smoothly without a single hiccup. Joe finalized the build with gold wheels, lightweight carbon fiber body accents, and custom M-stripe detailing over the new roof, fully resurrecting a supercar that was once written off as complete garbage.